Now get 1.9% APR on many Toyota certified used favorites. The best new cars make the best used cars. Toyota, let's go places.
Tonight, breaking news as we come on the air. Dylan Roof sentenced to death after murdering 9 African Americans during a Bible study. His final words to the jury. The showdown on Capitol Hill tonight, President-elect Donald Trump's pick for Attorney General, facing protesters and tough questions about his record on race, civil rights, about investigating Hillary Clinton, and about Mr. Trump's comments on women. The other bombshell on the Hill tonight, the heads of U.S. intelligence answering questions about the Russian hacking. And the FBI director is asked, are you investigating any possible ties between the Russians and members of Mr. Trump's team? President Obama returning to Chicago tonight, his farewell address. And the major storm on the move at this hour, several feet of snow, winds 50 miles per hour.
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and we have several breaking headlines as we come on the air tonight. The fireworks on Capitol Hill today. But first, the verdict coming in late today in Charleston. A jury deciding the death penalty for Dylan Roof, who walked into that church and then shot and killed 9 parishioners who had invited him to pray with them. Tonight, Dylan Roof's final words to the court. ABC's Steve Osunsami leading us off.
It took jurors only 3 short hours. The most appropriate sentence is death. The justice delivered to these church families tonight is bittersweet.
This verdict is a verdict for America.
22-year-old Dylan Roof will pay for the 9 lives he stole from the basement of this historic black church by giving up his. But none of this will bring their loved ones back. The husband and daughter of Myra Thompson tell us tonight they hope Roof finds God soon.
If there's one thing you want to tell him tonight, it's that he needs to find the Lord.
Yes.
He definitely needs to, because Judgment Day is coming sooner for him than what he expected.
What happened that sweltering evening was more than painful to Charleston. While Reverend Clemente Pinckney and 8 other wonderful people were being executed at a Bible study in the name of white nationalism, his wife was locked in a room down the hall with their youngest daughter hiding from the racist killer.
Just stay quiet, okay? Just stay right where you are.
In his closing statements, Roof sounded calm and well thought. I felt like I had to do it, he told jurors, and I still feel like I have to do it. It's the same lack of humanity he shared in this handwritten jailhouse journal. I would like to make it crystal clear. I do not regret what I did. I am not sorry. In a statement tonight, South Carolina's black U.S. Senator Tim Scott said that today that man was rightly sentenced to death.
And Steve Osunsami joins us tonight from Charleston. Steve, Roof is already asking to appeal this.
Yes, he is. He's asking for an appeal and for new lawyers to file the appeal. But the judge told him the rules are, since he chose to act as his own lawyer, he has to file that appeal on his own. David.
Steve Osunsami, who has been covering this case from the start. Steve, thanks. We turn now to the showdown on Capitol Hill. President-elect Donald Trump's pick for Attorney General, Senator Jeff Sessions, in the hot seat. Tonight, you will hear how he answers questions about his record on race and civil rights, what he says about those contentious confirmation hearings 30 years ago for another post. There were protesters in the room today as Senator Sessions promised he would uphold the law and speak truth to the president-elect. ABC's Mary Bruce on Capitol Hill tonight.
With just a few paces, Alabama Senator Jeff Sessions walked from his own office into the glare of his confirmation.
So help you God.
And right off the bat, found himself confronted by an explosive issue that has dogged him for decades.
No Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA. Sessions is a racist.
In 1986, before the same committee, Sessions was denied a federal judgeship over allegations he made a series of racist remarks, something he adamantly denied.
I am not a racist. I am not insensitive to blacks.
And today, he addressed the matter head on.
These are damnably false charges. I abhor the Klan and what it represents and its hateful ideology.
Still over and over again, he was interrupted by protesters. 25 people in all dragged out and arrested.
People have fairly promptly tried to label you as
a racist or a bigot or whatever you want to say. How does that make you feel?
Well, it does not feel good. And there was an organized effort to caricature me as something that wasn't true. And it was very painful. It wasn't accurate then, and it's not accurate now.
The senator's Republican colleagues today coming to his defense.
That Jeff Sessions is a person of integrity, a principled leader, and a dedicated public servant.
But in a rare move, 3 African-American Democratic lawmakers will soon testify against Sessions. One of them, civil rights icon Congressman John Lewis.
I grew up in Alabama. I know the state, I know the South.
We need to make America great again.
Sessions was the first senator to endorse Donald Trump, but today he made it clear the Attorney General must be independent.
He or she must be willing to tell the president or other top officials if he or they overreach. He or she cannot be a mere rubber stamp.
He also said he would separate himself from any lingering investigations of Trump's former rival Hillary Clinton.
During the course of this boisterous political campaign, did you ever chant, "Lock her up"?
No, I did not. I don't think. I heard it in rallies and so forth. I believe the proper thing for me to do would be to recuse myself from any questions involving those kind of investigations that involve Secretary Clinton.
Sessions grilled on his own record, but also on the positions of the president-elect. On waterboarding, which Sessions once supported.
Congress has taken an action now that makes it absolutely improper and illegal to use waterboarding.
On a Muslim ban.
Would you support a law that says you can't come to America because you're a Muslim?
No.
And the nominee stoic as Democratic Senator Pat Leahy brought up Trump's comments caught on tape.
Is grabbing a woman by her genitals without consent, is that sexual assault?
Clearly, it would be.
And Mary Bruce with us live on Capitol Hill tonight. And Mary, the president-elect's nominee for Homeland Security Chief, also being questioned today?
David, General John Kelly testifying here tonight and weighing in on Trump's signature campaign pledge. Kelly says that wall along the Mexico border will not be enough to protect the border. And tomorrow, David, Rex Tillerson, Trump's controversial pick for Secretary of State, likely to be the most watched hearing here on Capitol Hill. David?
You'll be right there watching, too. Mary Bruce tonight, our thanks again to you. And we turn now to the other bombshell on the Hill tonight. One of the heads of U.S. intelligence and the head of the FBI, both answering questions about the Russian hacking during the presidential campaign. And the director of the FBI, who took heat for publicly announcing a new investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails just 11 days before the election, before then saying there was nothing there. Well, today he was asked about something else. Here's our senior justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas now.
Tonight, new questions for leaders of U.S. intelligence after they publicly pointed the finger today at Russia for hacking during the presidential election campaign. They made it clear who Putin was out to help.
The goals of this campaign were to undermine public faith in the U.S. democratic process, denigrate Secretary Clinton, and harm her electability. Putin and the Russian government also developed a clear preference for President-elect Trump.
Democrats and Republicans agreeing with the findings.
It should not be a partisan issue. This involves whether or not we are going to allow someone to actively interfere in our political discourse and divide us as a nation against each other.
We can simply not allow it to stand.
And for the first time publicly, the FBI director talking about the hacking, saying Republicans were attacked too.
There were successful penetrations of some groups and campaigns, particularly at the state level on the Republican side of the aisle, and some limited penetration of old Republican National Committee domains.
The Russians also hacked systems associated with Republicans. They just chose not to release that material yet.
And FBI Director James Comey was pressed further, asked if he's now investigating any ties between Russian officials and Trump supporters.
Especially in a public forum, we never confirm or deny a pending investigation.
The irony of your making that statement here, I cannot avoid.
That did not sit well with those who remain convinced Comey severely hurt Hillary Clinton's campaign when he revealed to Congress he was reigniting the email probe just 11 days before the election, only to later say there was nothing there. After the hearing, he wasn't talking.
Director Comey, are you comfortable in the role that you played in the election, sir?
Pierre Thomas with us live from Washington tonight. Pierre, you could see the tension in the room there today when the director of the FBI said he doesn't talk in open forums about investigations after he went public about that new look at Clinton's emails 11 days before the election.
That's right, David. He was refusing to comment, and today he made clear that he's, quote, tone deaf when it came to politics. David?
Pierre Thomas live in Washington as well tonight. Pierre, thanks. Now to the message from President-elect Donald Trump tonight to fellow Republicans. He says repeal Obamacare, but replace it right away. Tonight, is that even possible with more than 20 million Americans who depend on it now wondering, what is the plan when it goes away? Here's our chief White House correspondent, Jonathan Karl.
Tonight, Donald Trump is sending a blunt message to Republicans in Congress about one of his signature campaign promises.
We're going to repeal and replace Obamacare. We have no choice.
Today, in an interview with the New York Times, Trump said Congress should repeal Obamacare as soon as next week, and that, quote, the replace will be very quickly or simultaneously very shortly thereafter. Trump's mandate appears at odds with Republican plans, which had called for a vote to repeal the law next month, followed by weeks, if not months, of debate on measures to replace parts of the law later this year.
But why still no plan to replace it?
We have a plan to replace it. We have plenty of ideas to replace it, and you'll see as the weeks and months unfold.
It's politically risky for Republicans because while Obamacare isn't particularly popular, it has helped an estimated 20 million Americans get health coverage. Even Trump has said there are parts of the law he would keep.
Are you going to make sure that people with preconditions are still covered?
Yes, because it happens to be one of the strongest assets.
You're going to keep that?
Also with the children living with their parents for an extended period.
Trump himself recently acknowledged the tricky politics, tweeting to Republicans last week, be careful. Democrats say Republicans will be blamed for any problems caused by repeal.
Now they're going to own it, and all the problems in the healthcare system.
Trump today is promising to campaign against those who stand in his way.
Very clear that they can repeal this. John Karl with us tonight, but the big question in Washington is, will they have enough votes from both Republicans and Democrats to replace it with something?
They don't have the votes now, David. Because of the way the rules are on this, they can repeal it with 51 votes in the Senate. They need 60 votes to pass it. There are only 52 Republicans. They don't even have consensus among those Republicans yet, let alone getting the Democratic votes they'll need. And by the way, this idea of getting it done in a couple of weeks, nobody I have spoken to in Congress thinks that that's possible.
All right, John Karl, always good to have you with us, John. Meantime, President Obama has just arrived in Chicago tonight, where he is preparing to deliver his farewell address. A new poll tonight finding Mr. Obama with a 55% approval rating for his job as president, his best in 7 years. That same poll on Donald Trump tonight finding that 51% of Americans disapprove of how he's handling his job as president-elect. That same number viewing him unfavorably. ABC's Tom Yamas live in Chicago tonight, with the president will speak a short time from now. Hey, Tom.
David, good evening. This is turning out to be quite the event. The stage is set just behind me, and the president is going to have this long walk down over to the podium in front of thousands of his supporters, and he's breaking tradition. Usually the speech is given in D.C., but he wanted to give it here in Chicago. Why? Well, earlier today he posted on Facebook writing, "For me and Michelle, Chicago is where it all started. It's the city that showed us the power and fundamental goodness of the American people." And David, just moments ago we received some excerpts of his speech tonight, and he writes this also about Chicago. "This is where I learned that change only happens when ordinary people get involved, get engaged, and come together to demand it." Now, he'll be joined on stage with his family and the vice president. And when he's done here, David, he flies back to Washington, his last official trip on Air Force One as commander-in-chief.
Last official trip on Air Force One. In the meantime, there have been new indications, Tom, of what President Obama plans to do after he's in office.
That's right, David. The president has said if Hillary Clinton won, he'd basically give her the keys and just leave. But now he feels a responsibility to help elected Democrats to help rebuild the DNC. And privately, in other reports, he said if President-elect Trump does anything he vehemently opposes, he will not sit on the sidelines. David?
Right, Tom Yamas in Chicago. Tom, we'll see you just a short time from now. ABC News will be carrying the president's farewell address live tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on ABC. We also have President-elect Donald Trump's first formal news conference. That's tomorrow morning, also right here on ABC. In the meantime, to the other news tonight, and we turn next to Orlando. The hunt for a suspected cop killer now widening tonight. Master Sergeant Deborah Clayton, a wife, a mother, and a 17-year veteran, was gunned down outside a Walmart while questioning the fugitive. A second officer killed while responding. Tonight, a desperate search for suspect Markeith Lloyd, already wanted for the death of his pregnant girlfriend. The reward tonight now at $100,000, and police are seeking information from the public, promising to protect the identity of any tipsters. There is still much more ahead on World News Tonight this Tuesday. The abduction scare caught on surveillance. The major new development coming in now. The suspect, so police had said, seen grabbing a young child, his father standing nearby. But what we've now learned tonight about this video. Also the major whiteout in parts of the country at this hour. Several feet of snow expected. Winds at 50 miles per hour. The storm on the move. And then watch this, the danger falling from above. This was something, the frozen waterfall, the huge chunk of ice. And the park visitors